warning before we get started today. Today's lesson may be a struggle lesson for you. So don't beat yourself up if you don't get it on the first go round. Watch the video again, do some practice problems. We're gonna get through this lesson, okay? Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. We can do it. All right, so yesterday we talked about perimeter. So if I were gonna find the perimeter of this rectangle, how would I go about doing that? You just add up all the sides. 6 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5 ends up being 22, would be the perimeter of this shape. But let's say I had a circle. How do I find the perimeter of this circle? Add up all the sides. Well, it's not nearly as pretty. So in order to find the perimeter of a circle, it's actually called something different. We have a fancy word for that, and it's called circumference. Circumference is the distance around a circle. It's the perimeter of a circle. We have to use some handy dandy formulas to be able to find the circumference of a circle. So before we get into that formula, we have to talk about some terms. First term, what is a radius? A radius is the line that goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. That is a radius. Okay, so that's a radius. This would also be a radius, and this would also be a radius. And what's awesome about a circle is that the radius it's always the same. So if this were 2, this would be 2, this would be 2. Radius is the same radius no matter where you go on the circle. The next term that you need to know is the diameter. The diameter is the distance from one side of the circle to the other when it goes through the center. So the distance from one side of the circle to the other when it goes through the center. That is the diameter. What's cool about the diameter is, look at this. This little piece from here to here, it's a radius. And this little piece from here to here, it's also a radius. So when we look, a diameter is made up of 2 radii. I believe that's the radii. So diameter is made up of 2 radii. So if the radius of this circle were 4, the diameter would be 8. So if the radius is 4, the diameter would be 8. If the diameter were 10, what would the radius be? That's right, it would be 5. So keep in mind, diameter is 2 times the radius. The last term that we need to talk about is, I'm more than likely gonna cry talking about this, and it's a really weird thing to cry about, but bear with me. We're gonna talk about pi. What is pi? If you remember, this is why I'm gonna cry, because our last day together was Pi Day, and this was the last lesson that I taught you, and so, in person at least. And so this is a tough lesson for me to get through. I saved it for the very last lesson of the week. When I think back to everything that's happened, I think I've told you this once already. I'm just really happy our last day was Pi Day. I'm happy that our last day we got to have a party and celebrate math. But back to this. So pi is a number, it's a value, but how do we find that number? It is circumference divided by diameter. So if you took your circumference and divided it by your diameter, that's what pi is. It's 3.14. Now, if you remember, it doesn't stop there. It goes on for forever. 3.14, 1592, 6535897. That's as far as I know. You probably know further. But if I had a circle and I took the diameter and laid it out around the circle, so let's say that I took this diameter out and put it around the circle, it would take 1, 2, 3, and then some, that 0.14 diameters to go around the circle. That's where we get pi from. Now, this video is getting long, so I'm gonna stop this here and make this part 1, and I'm gonna come back and make part 2.